Time is now 6:30. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Before we get started, we're going to have Councilwoman Spruill lead us in prayer, and I ask everyone to stand for the pledge. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. First item on the agenda to consider approval of minutes for the November 15, 2022 regular meeting. Once it's been reviewed, we'll open the floor for a motion on this item.
After a review, I'll make a motion that we approve these minutes of the November 15th regular meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We'll now close item 1 and move on to item 2. Item 2 is our October financials. Ms. Reeves.
Thank you, Council. Your financials are in your packet. Right now, we are approximately 8.3% of the year. Our general fund is at about 8.38% of revenue, and our expenses are at 8.52%. The reason our expenses are up a little bit is because we've already paid our one-time expense to TML for our liability insurance. It's a payment that comes out one time a year, and we pay that in the 1st of October. Our sales tax is about 12% right now, above last year. So that's doing really well. And our building permits have come in really well for October at 87% above last year, which is about $42,000 more than last year. So our building industry is kind of picking up a little bit. Water and sewer revenue is about 9.17% above where it should be, which is we're supposed to be at 8.3, so it's a little bit above that. And our expenses are at 7.69. Again, a lot of those expenses are the liability insurance that we've paid out. So we are being very conservative on our expenses. It's just that it looks like we're high on the expense level because we've paid those one-time expenses.
What is the percentage on that insurance here? What's it under?
So our insurance payment to TML probably makes up about 4% of that.
Where is it? What I'm looking at here on the expense, where would that be here?
Those would be broken out. It's the non-departmental line. If you looked under statement of revenue on utilities and the non-departmental line on the general fund, that dollar amount that's there is the liability insurance.
Without that, that would put us at about 4.5%. Would that be correct?
Yes.
And that's pretty close to where we should be.
Well, we should be about 8.33% of the year has passed, but I just wanted to let y'all know that we are being conservative on our spending, and we have not been anywhere near that 8.33%. The reason why it looks like we are over that percentage is because we've paid that one-time expense.
What was the dollar amount on that?
So it would be $150,000 for the general fund was the amount of that, and then on the utility side, it was 207,000.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. The utility side's a little bit more because we have the water plant and sewer plant and stuff like that, and the liability.
And why?
Currently, the utilities are running right about where we had projected them to be. Our revenues for water, now our most of the bills we're seeing that's coming in are pretty much right where they want to, except for whatever leaks. Sprinkler systems right now, a lot of people that were mowing their lawns, sometimes they hit their heads, and so that we are seeing some sprinkler head leaks. I've talked to two people here just this month that was the issue, but we gave them leak adjustments. I know y'all passed a leak adjustment policy not too long here, and so we were able to work with them with the leak adjustment policy, and I think that having that leak adjustment policy when we didn't have that before has really helped the ones that have leaks. Other than that, we are seeing that the water bill itself, the usage has just been pretty moderate.
I was referring to the utilities that we spend to maintain our offices and things in the city.
That is, as you know, is harder to predict. We did probably estimated pretty well, but this next year, you never know with fuel going up, just what that's going to be. And so I'll let Mikhail answer, but you know, we do the best we can, and then it's just been going up everywhere. I can't imagine living in the Northeast.
Let me ask you quick on the sales tax of the 12%. What was the dollar figure on that it increased?
The difference was about $58,000.
Thank you.
And to answer your question on the utilities, we're based on what we budgeted last year, running about a 7% over, but we did budget contingency to cover that. And so we're really watching that closely. We increased most of those when we started the budget year at about 15% overall for all the utilities, and we're running about a 7% for that on the utility lines right now. So that is something we are watching. The fuel, we do have a fuel contracted price, so that has helped us with the fuel, and the fact that we have very fuel efficient vehicles now is also helped keep some of the cost of the fuel down. Also included in your packet, towards the end, we received a 10-year sales tax history by month comparison from the Comptroller's office. So I went ahead and included that in there for you. I just thought that it might be something of interest to y'all. It just basically shows how far the sales tax has increased from 2003 to 2022 by month, and you can just see the growth of the city. And then underneath of it, there's some charts and graphs that chart it out by month. And when I was looking at it, I just found it very fascinating to see how much we have grown as a city over the years, and how much we continue to grow just through the current year, from even just looking at 2021 over 2022.
Just for the public that can't see what we're seeing here, I'll mention here for December, from 2013, sales tax revenue we received then was about $350,000, and in 2022, about $650,000. That's rough figures there, so a huge increase. That's just for last month. I
mean, and then if you look at from 2003, from I mean, you're talking $250,000 to $650,000. So, I mean, you're talking quite a bit of an increase, but it's just, this, like I said, this came in from the comptrollers and, you know, just for a year in review, and I just thought that was something that y'all would find interesting to be able to.
Well, another thing to look at too on that same chart is bigger numbers, speak volumes. So in 2003, we had a total of almost 4 million. And this year, we haven't got the numbers in for December, but we're already at 7.9 million.
But other than that, that's all I have, if y'all have any other questions.
Okay, council, we have any further questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Reeves. We really appreciate that update. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close item 2 on the agenda, and we'll move on to item 3. Item 3 is to consider approval of ordinance 2022-23, amending section 53.60 for Title 5 of Chapter 53 of the Code of Ordinances to increase charges for solid waste collection.
We received notice that Republic is increasing their rates to us, and most of these rates are just direct pass-throughs to our customers. So it's a 5% increase. Residential's the old rate was $16.41. It's going to $17.28. And then the extra cart fee is going from $3 to $4. And then the commercial handhelds are going from $34.70 to $36.50. And then the commercial cart services are going for $41.60 to $43.11. I've put a comparison sheet on the very last page so that you could see the old rates right next to the new rates, just so it'll give you an idea of even the cubic yard dumpsters, how much they're going up with the old rates compared to the new rates. Like I said, again, this is just a direct pass-through from Republic's rates, increasing those on, you know, passing those rates on to our customer.
When was the last time they had an increase? Last year?
The last time they had an increase was in 2019.
They have, under the contract, they come back and request, according to the COLA, the Cost of Living Index, and they haven't asked for that, and I was quite pleased to see that he asked for 5% this year, not 10 or 12 or whatever, you know. So they do a great job. Might also point out, because we've had some calls from people out of the city that come in to do building or remodeling or whatever, and they need a roll-off container, and they want to bring one from Texarkana or Longview or some, and we have a contract with Republic that they do exclusive to do all the garbage hauling inside the city. That helps the amount of money we get, keeps our rates lower, and so we've explained it. Not everybody's happy about it because they like to, you know, find some cheaper, but they pay us to roll on the roads and so forth, so that's why it's like a franchise thing, and but it's exclusive for everything, in case you get a question.
Did they say the 5% was basically attributed to the cost of diesel?
They just said it's based, attributed to the cost of everything just going up overall. Just the cost of having to increase labor costs, fuel costs, just everything.
They've been a good partner with us for years. They, Republic does their part for sure, and they could have just as easily gone up to what the COLA and the Consumer Price Index has, and 5% is, I mean, we'd rather not have any, but again, we'd rather be paying $1.99 at the gas, or $1 at the gas station than $3.89 or whatever we're paying there. Maybe close to $3 now. It fluctuates so much, but I think you get the point. So it's businesses also. So, but we appreciate Republic, and like I said, they're a good partner with the city.
Yes, they are. We haven't had any complaints with.
Did you have something else, Henry? Okay. I'll open the floor for a motion on this item, and we do want to thank you, Ms. Reeves.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-23 as presented tonight.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Alrighty, we have a motion by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilwoman Sproul. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Mikhail, there's a question on when these rates will go into effect.
They'll go into effect on the next billing cycle.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and close item 3, and we'll now move on to item 4 on the agenda. Item 4 is to consider approval of Resolution 2022-21, Reserve at Nevels for proposed development for affordable rental housing.
I'd like to introduce Steve Martin with the Mount Pleasant Housing Authority and let him do the,
Mr. Martin, you have to hold that button down.
Okay. Thank y'all for having us here tonight. We are looking to do a submission for tax rate and get the approval for that through TDHCA to give us the ability to put new housing in Mount Pleasant. One of the steps in that is getting the city's approval and actually support in what we're doing. It helps us get points, and it is a point-driven system to get one of these things. So y'all may recall we were here before you about this time last year and asked for the same thing. We were very close to succeeding, got beat out by Paris. So it happens, and we continue to strive to get it done again. Hopefully this year we've got the points. We've got a good property. If you have that in your packet, it shows the property. It's just north of town, just north of the interstate there. So it's a very nice piece of property, and it scores well on our pre-scores. So we look to hopefully get it this time. We are in a very competitive region. We're Region 4 rural, which is everything from just north of Tyler to Paris to Texarkana. So we are in competition with a lot of bigger towns than us to get one of these put in, and they only do so many a year. So we may be back again next year, but until we get one on the ground, we're going to keep trying to get it done. So, and I'm available to answer any questions you have about that or anything you have about the process.
I noticed this will be on projected 23 acres, and I'm sure the land hadn't been purchased or anything. That's all in conjunction with the approval.
Right. The land is under contract. It has to be under contract before we can make our submission. And it is, the actual project would be on 10 acres. The remaining part of that parcel would likely be sold or reserved for later use at some point. Our developers will be more involved in that piece of it than our direct involvement.
When will you know from the state?
The submission goes in January. They usually take the final submissions in March. We hear back from them around the end of June. So end of June, 1st of July, we would know if we win or not. Typically, right at the end of June, you pretty much know if you're going to win or not and have the points. So, but we do feel like the points are there for us this time, and depending on what else gets submitted, it is a competition. So we just have to see what we can do.
When you do get approved, or when a city does get approved, or housing authority, what length of time then is it for you to start a project, or just say you get approved and maybe in July, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and when would you be projecting doing something?
So if we get approval in July, it would probably be about 6 months before they start actual groundwork on the project, and about 2 years total to completion. So if we get approved in 23, we should be having housing on the ground in 25 and look to be fully stocked on that housing by the end of 25.
And again, what is the number of housing?
It's 72 units.
And I know it's hard to say right now, but what are you currently forecasting for the monthly rent on these units?
And that would be pretty difficult to tell you exactly. With the 72 units, we would look to probably be looking around $500 to $600 on average per unit. But there's going to be a variable there of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom units. So right now, currently with our contracts through AtCog, we receive $600, $725, and $900 for those ranges. So. And depending on how many of each unit we actually put on the ground would determine the overall rent that we receive.
And being that that's gonna be probably over a year out before somebody could even occupy that, there's a chance that they'll increase those a little bit for you.
Yes, sir. We actually go back to AtCog every 2 years to look at that, and it's based on the current market rents for Titus County. So we always try to get as much from AtCog as we can, but right now that's the rates we're at, $600, $725, and $900, and that would be what we look to go into those with, unless there is another big change in rent, which y'all know rents are going up and up, and here the current housing stock we have, we're 100% zero vacancies, and we have 700 people on our wait list. So I have no issue with us filling this housing. As a matter of fact, if you can find us a way to build 700, I'll fill 700 of them for you. But this is the avenue that's available to us to try and help get this on the ground right now. So if we can do it, it gets 72 more units, and who knows, in a few years maybe we can do another 72. But we certainly, the need for housing is here in Mount Pleasant. Constantly we have people we're having to turn away and try to send to other towns. There are a few towns near us with some housing availability. It's just they don't have people wanting to go there. Gladewater is a great town, but nobody's wanting to move to Gladewater, so they have housing available. They just don't have people wanting to go there. But Mount Pleasant, we've got lots of people wanting to come here, and we've got lots of people waiting on housing. My current 3-bedroom list, we haven't had a new person move into that list in 2 years. And the 2-bedroom is not far behind that. It's about a year and a half. What 1-bedrooms turn a little more, unfortunately, that's because of most of our 1-bedrooms are elderly, disabled folks, and they either go to the nursing home or the funeral home. Unfortunately, from us, we've had 8 pass away this year, which is a little unusual for us, but that's about the only way we get vacancies is when people move on that way. So we need more housing, and any support y'all can give in that is greatly appreciated. Just so you're clear on what your support does for us, it excludes other people from trying to do the same thing we're trying to do in Mount Pleasant through this round of submissions. So it gives us the exclusive on that, which gives us the tiebreaker if we end up in a tie with some other area. So it kind of helps out in that respect as well.
We appreciate what y'all do. You're a good group out there, and you do a good job in there. We appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I'd like to say that I served on the board for 5 years, and I know how hard it is to get people and those with special needs, and it's a very good job. You know, many meetings just to get individuals to help out and even serve on the board. But I thank you for all that you do there, you and your team.
And thank you, Jerry. He was actually on the board when we first started trying to do one of these a few years ago, but it's been a process, and we've been very close a few times over the last 8 years that we've tried to do a submission. And like I say, last year Paris beat us out by just a little bit, and but it's a points thing, and every point we can get helps, and y'all's support is one of those points. So we appreciate what you can do for us.
Well, we certainly appreciate you. It is definitely a necessity, and I appreciate your efforts. We all do appreciate your efforts, and we do recognize the hard work that goes into it. And I'm pretty sure we should support you as we did before. And I just want to say thank you personally.
I just have one quick follow-up question. Will the tenants have to adhere to any type of guidelines or restrictions to maintain their, rental?
Yes, sir. Certainly, we have a residential lease agreement that they have to abide by. There's quite a few things that they have to do there, because they will, most of them will receive a voucher to live there, and through the voucher program, they are required to adhere to even stricter standards through HUD. So,
I have a couple of questions. This particular site that we're talking about, how did y'all come to find that site? Wasn't it before gonna be on the south side of town?
The development group that we work with has a software program that gives them a points basis on properties. So whenever we get ready to go through the process, they run it through, see what the points look like in our area. Right now, pretty much anything on the north side of the interstate is a very high scoring property. And then we just started looking, basically we drive around looking for properties that are a big enough property that will work for us, and find out if a owner is willing to sell it to us. And we do have that contract, or that property under contract already. So we're ready to take that next step and continue to move forward with it.
On those vouchers, are there any utilities included, or is that all part of the tenant's responsibility?
Currently, the way we're set up, and I presume we will probably be the same way on the new project, we pay the water and the trash and the sewage. They pay their gas and electric. And it's not actually determined yet. This one may be all electric, which they wouldn't have a gas bill on that one. But our current properties, gas and electric, so they pay their gas and electric. We pay the water, the sewage, and the trash.
And are there plans to bring broadband into this facility?
We have not specifically talked about it. It's something that the project we're working on over at Amy Drive, y'all may have seen the renovation that's been going on over there. They are bringing broadband in on that project, and it would probably be something we include with this one. Some of the amenities that are included, we're going to have a clubhouse. There'll be a pool there. There's a walking path on the property. So there's several amenities there, but I would suspect we would do that for them as well on the broadband.
Well, all right, we certainly thank you, Steve. I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor for a motion on this item.
Thank you, Steve. I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution 2022-21, the reserve at Neville's for the proposed development for affordable rental housing as presented.
I second the motion.
All right, we got a motion by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Again, thank you. We appreciate you. All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda. We'll move on now to item 5. Item 5 is to consider award of a bid for boom lift. Keith?
Mayor and council, if you remember back when we was doing our budget, we talked to you about replacing our bucket truck that's been down. And we were looking at, when we didn't have one, we did a lot of renting on the boom lift and the scissor lift. So we talked about just getting one of those. So we end up putting it out for bid, and we got 2 bids back. And we had one that didn't meet, it didn't meet spec. So we was asked for one with gasoline. And so the one that we did get was a JLG from it's from Lone Star forklift in Longview. And it's close, and it was the same one we presented to y'all that night, and the price was like $84,995, but I just called it 85. But the other one that come in, it was cheaper, but again, it didn't meet specs. And this one was like it was gas and like a hybrid deal, with a lot of batteries and stuff, you know, and I talked to the guys that would be working on it. And they were saying if we go to have problems like that, we don't know what that would cost us. And also, the lift itself was to come out of Florida. And I think it would be best for us to have something here close to like Longview to deal with Florida.
What do we budget on this? Do you remember offhand, Ed or Mikhail?
We ended up looking at the boom lift and the scissor lift, and we had like 120,000 in there. So this one is gonna be like 85, we'll say, and the scissor lift gonna be like 17.5. So actually it'll be like 102. So we'll be well under the 120.
Hey Keith, do we have a trailer that would be able to transport this for us, or do we need to look at getting a trailer that would be able to safely move this guy around?
When we got to looking at trailers, I was thinking about the big boom lift, and we have a trailer that'll work on it. But now on the scissor lift, we're gonna need a smaller trailer, and I actually got prices on that. We'll be looking at another $4,000 just to get the right trailer for the scissor lift, so we won't mess it up.
So we'll still be under budget regardless, even with the trailer.
Could you see that again?
Yeah, I was saying we'd still be under budget even with the trailer.
Right now, we're at 102, 102, and again, that'd be another 4,000. So we'll still be well under 110. We looking at 120 we got. Yes, sir, that's the one. That's the one we looking at.
This should last us for years, one like this. I know we, it's one of these deals that we don't use it that much, but, so a good quality machine should last us for years and years.
And normally, when we get to work and we have to rent one, and we might rent it for the week, and as soon as we get things done, time we take it back, something else happened, we have to go back and rent again. So that would save us money doing that all the time.
I'll say this, most, our guys are like Keith, but Keith, he uses his equipment, and when he says we need to replace it, he's used it up completely. I mean, we don't leave any life in any of our equipment when we time to change, so, I do appreciate that. He's,
All right, thanks a lot, Keith. We appreciate it. Hold on.
Keith, are you getting any trade-in value on the old one, or are you just gonna end up auctioning it, the old one?
The old forklift, I'm thinking we probably already got rid of that, because that's been like a couple of years ago.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, the floor is open for motion.
Make a motion that we approve the bid for the boom lift.
We have a second. I have a motion by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll close that item on the agenda and move on to our next. Our next item is to consider approval of final pay request from Stansel Construction for work on the library storage building.
Mayor and Council, let me introduce Jeffrey Boone, who's with Clyde Calvert's group that wrote the specs and oversaw this construction project.
That is correct, and as said, I'm here to request final payment of $86,417.50 for your library storage project. What this payment consisted of was masonry, interior finish out, and electrical. The week of Thanksgiving, a final walkthrough was completed with members of the city and members of the library. Everybody seemed happy with the project. There was no issues that we saw, and project is now completed.
Yes, we did walk through it, and it's
Helen gave her final approval on this, thumbs up.
and it's got lots of plugs down every wall.
Lots of plugs, lots of natural light. It's a really nice building. Turned out nice.
All righty. Well, we'll go ahead and open the floor for that one.
Thank you for being here tonight. I'll make a motion that we approve this final pay, request from Stansel Construction for the work on the library storage building as presented.
I'll second that.
A motion made by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please. Aye.
Aye.
Might just remind you that that was, those funds to build that came from the CARES Act, that had to do with COVID, and we appreciate that too, by the way, that we had funds to do that.
Yes, of course. We certainly thank you. As Ms. Helen said, it's okay, and it's gotta be okay. All right, we'll go ahead and close that item.
That's a $250 fine. You know, that there's a saying that you can tell a lot about a person by the ring of their cell phone. I thought that was very nice, very pleasant.
That's okay, we'll forgive you this time, sir. Okay, we'll go ahead and, close item 6 and move on to item 7 on the agenda. Item 7 is to consider approval of pay request from W. Miller for work on the 10-inch water main.
This is Brittany.
Mayor and council. This is the new 10-inch line going out north in town. Actually, what this pay request is for is just the material on hands. They hadn't physically started the job yet, so it's materials on hand.
Where's it stored at?
Right next to the water tower on 1314 key? I think it's 1314.
All right, sounds good. And we have any questions, or we're going to?
Run our request is, what, 40? I'm just making sure here that we're approving the right pay request, because what I'm seeing here is an amount.
It's 4709.
Yeah, that's for all the piping. They have it on the project. It's sitting out there.
Cause they got everything on site.
Yeah, that project is 1.1 or 2 million.
So we're still holding back 470918, I guess, the way I'm reading this from that amount.
That's the retainage.
So we know all the materials there, I guess, is my point too.
It has been checked, and Patrick is overseeing this project, and he has also approved and checked it.
All right. Thank you. Council, the floor is open for a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion that we, approve pay request for W. Miller for work on the 10-inch water main.
Okay, do we have a second? Have a motion made by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll now close that item. Our next item, item 8. Consider approval of pay request from W. Miller for work on a 24-inch water line replacement, the I-30 plan to EWT.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to go over, this is pay estimate number 8 for Miller Construction. Time period is November 1st through November 25th. The amount payable is $52,929.91. Work involved over this pay period was tie-ins for 6-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch water lines, valves, and 8-inch and 12-inch water line install.
Council, floor is open for questions.
Everything's going good as far as the timeline goes on this project. I see we're, what, 83% completed?
They are a little behind schedule. Let's see, they had 210 days in the contract time, and the latest update I have was from today, that they're expected to have the last tie-in to the elevated storage tank by the end of the week.
Any further questions? Floor is open for a motion.
Brittany? I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this request from W.M. Miller for the work on the 24-inch water line replacement at I-30 plant at EWT as presented by.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, recorded vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Brittany. All right, we'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda. Our next item is public comments. Do we have anyone in the audience tonight that would like to come up and speak to the council? Floor is open for council comments.
First of all, as we prepared with the Pilgrim Center, there were two individuals that we honored and that were there that were very involved. First of all, Miss Betty Smith, who was an employee of Pilgrims for 30 plus years, and she's been at the Decoration Day and all of the programs, and she was very dead. She was 88 years old. She was one of those that was out there when we did the groundbreaking for the Pilgrim Center. She passed away, and her service was this Saturday at 11 a.m. Also at the Juneteenth program last year, we honored Miss Oma Bell Roney for being 104 years old. She turned 105 on November the 25th. She died Saturday morning, and her funeral service is this Friday at 11 a.m. at the Shady Grove Baptist Church in Case. And again, I thank the city for their service, and I thank the city of Mount Pleasant for honoring them during that service. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. We appreciate that. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close public comments at this time and move on to item 10, which is our city manager's report.
And Mayor and Council, I'd like to also echo what Councilman Walker just said, and really I'd like to just say, I know you don't want me to say this, but it's really been him that has brought these Mount Pleasant heroes, people who worked hard for a community in the past, and brought them up and suggested the awards and so forth and recognition, and I think it's really it's proven to be really healthy to have a community that does recognize that, and anyway, I just want to say that a lot of the thanks should go to him for that, and I know their families appreciate it. The other thing I want to say is the property for the Chick-fil-A closed tonight around 6 o'clock p.m. tonight. So we should see some, I think that both EDC and Chamber moved out by the weekend. You might have been out a little earlier, but I know the Chamber's getting out by the weekend. Busy. So, and we got the gas disconnected yesterday, so they'll be breaking ground. I don't know if they're having a groundbreaking, but I haven't heard that. They'll have a ribbon cutting when it's done, but they'll start breaking ground any day now because they wanted to. Okay, they told me they're going to start turning it down on the 5th of December. So. Okay. Well, you know more than me. Anyway, we were trying to get them to wait till after the 1st, so you guys would have a little more time and not get out. And they said, no, we're starting to tear down on the 5th, so they used that to help us get you out. Yeah. Anyway, that's good. And we wanted to also remind you tonight that our next meeting's on the 20th. We have a few items, so it's gonna be not necessarily a long item, but it'll be a little workshop and some other things there. And, probably a little longer than this meeting. And, also let you know that remind you that you're invited to our, on the, 16th, at noon of the Civic Center. I think y'all have gotten your invitation. All right, that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
All righty. Well, before I close public comment, today I got a chance to walk through the community center and see the progress that they're making over there. It's looking real good. Seems like it's gonna come around. The last estimated time they gave us around February, and as long as we have no further delays on that. But I do wanna echo again what Ed said and Councilman Walker. And Councilman Walker has done a lot, and it's, you know, for our community, bringing in things forward to acknowledge a lot of people that it's very important to our community. So I want to personally thank Mr. Walker for that. And again, I know he's going to be doing a wall in that community center that will actually show some of those heroes throughout our community. Again, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Walker, for your efforts, and I want to thank the rest of the council also for that support. And also thank Mr. Thatcher for everything he does for us. Okay, and then with that, I'm gonna go ahead and.
Yeah.
You got something with that? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna let Ed have the mic from there. Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilman Dale just reminded me that we call it the Project Veggies. Their groundbreaking and opening is at 9 o'clock on the 13th. That's next Tuesday, I think. At their site out there drive around till you see a group meeting, and then.
All righty, we're gonna go ahead and again, thank you all. We're gonna go ahead and close this item on the agenda. Did you have anything else? All right, I just wanted to make sure everything. All righty, we'll go ahead and close that item, which is item 10, and we're gonna move on now to our executive session. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, the Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council will recess into executive session to discuss the following: personnel matters, to discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline or dismissal of a public officer or employee. This is a board appointment. At this time, the council will be going into executive session.
My staff you're welcome to go home now. You don't, but you could, Jeremy. Not you, Chief.
Time is now 8:17. The council has reconvened from our executive session. This time, no action was taken, and open the floor for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
We are now adjourned.